Hello students, welcome back to my channel. In this class, we are going to discuss about the seed. See, in case of flowering plants or in case of angiosperms, the final product of sexual reproduction is seed. And this seed can be described as the mature, fertilized ovule or ripened ovule. So why it is called as matured fertilized ovule? Because we have discussed in the previous class only, after fertilization the ovules develops into seed. Let's take an example. So here it is the gynoecium. Gynoecium comprising of stigma, style as well as ovary. And ovary encloses many number of ovules. These ovules after fertilization they develops into seeds. That's why I told you seeds can be called as the matured fertilized ovules, or we can also call it as a ripened ovules. And these seeds are produced within the fruits. Later, after fertilization, this entire ovary develops into fruit. This phenomena we can study later. You just remember the seeds are produced within the fruits. And when you observe a seed typically comprising of a seed coat, a cotyledon as well as the embryonal axis. Usually, a seed comprising of an embryonal axis along with a seed coat and one or two cotyledons. If it is a monocot seed, it comprising of one cotyledon. If it is a dicot seed, it contains two cotyledons. So we will study how the seed coats will be formed within this seed. You know, after fertilization, the ovules develops into seed. Let us recall the structure of ovule. So this is a typical anatropous ovule. Here in this ovule, you can observe the ovule is enclosed by the protective layers called as integuments. Usually it contains one or two protective layers called as integuments. Here you can see two integuments. One is the outer integument and the other one is called as inner integument. And after fertilization, so these two integuments becomes hard and they develops into seed coat. So the integuments only after fertilization develops into seed coat, and this outer integument develops into a hard and leathery seed coat called as testa. So the outer integument which will develops into a hard and leathery seed coat called as testa, whereas the inner integument develops into a thin seed coat called as tegmen. Try to remember, the integuments develops into seed coat. So this outer integument develops into a hard seed coat called as testa, and inner integument develops into a thin seed coat called as tegmen. And this micropyle, so the micropyle is the region where integuments are not covered the ovule. This micropyle remains as a small pore in the seed coat. So if this is the ovule, it develops into seed. So these integuments becomes the seed coat. The integuments becomes the seed coat. So this micropyle remains as a small pore in this seed coat. Then why this micropyle remains? What is the function of this micropyle? So here micropyle plays an important role. It will facilitate the entry of water and oxygen. So it will facilitate or it will help for the entry of water and oxygen. When it will facilitate? At the time of seed germination. At the time of seed germination, it definitely requires water and oxygen, so that water and oxygen can enter through this micropylar region. That's why micropyle plays an important role during the seed germination for the entry of water and oxygen. And as I said, the seed comprising of an embryonal axis, the seed coats, one or two seed coats, and even it may contain one or two cotyledons. If it is a dicot, which usually contains two cotyledons. If it is a monocot, which contains a single cotyledon, and that single cotyledon we can call it as scutellum. And usually these cotyledons, the cotyledons are the simple structures which are usually thick and they are swollen. These cotyledons are swollen. Why they are swollen? Because of the presence of a large amount of reserve food material. Because of the presence of large amount of reserve food material, the cotyledons appears like a swollen structures. And in the have discussed that the endosperm may be present in certain seeds and may be absent in certain seeds. So depending upon the presence or absence of endosperm, the mature seeds can be of two types. One is albuminous seeds, can also be called as endospermic seeds, and the other type is called as ex-albuminous type or non-endospermic seeds. So your mature seeds may be of two types based on the presence or absence of endosperm. You know, endosperm, it is the nutritive tissue that usually provides nourishment for the developing embryo. In certain seeds, this endosperm will persist or will retain in the seed. If the endosperm is retained in the seed, why it is retained? It may not be completely utilized by the developing embryo. As the embryo during the development, if it is not utilized by the embryo completely, if it is retained, such seeds are called as albuminous seeds, are also called as endospermic seeds. Endospermic in the sense the seeds which contain endosperm. So try to remember, the seeds with endosperm are called as endospermic seeds, are also called as albuminous seeds. Why it is retained? Because the developing embryo is not completely utilized this nutritive tissue, that is endosperm. And examples we can give, it is in the last class only I told you, coconut, wheat, maize, all these are examples for endospermic seeds because they contain or they retain the endosperm within the seed. And the other type is called as ex-albuminous or non-endospermic seeds. In certain seeds, the endosperm, there is no endosperm. In certain seeds, there is no endosperm as it is completely utilized by the developing embryo. The seeds without endosperm are called as ex-albuminous or non-endospermic seeds. Here non-endospermic in the sense no endosperm. If the seeds they do not contain endosperm. Why they do not contain endosperm? Because it is completely utilized by the developing embryo. Such seeds are called as ex-albuminous or non-endospermic seeds. And examples we can give: pea, beans, groundnut, etc. All these are examples for ex-albuminous seeds where the seeds do not contain no endosperm. Here in this diagram you can see, here it is the seed. We can observe the cotyledon, and here the endosperm is present. Endosperm is present. Later it may be completely used up or it may be retained. For example, see in this diagram you can see endosperm. A small portion of the endosperm will be retained. As the endosperm is present, it can be called as endospermic seed. And we can observe the seed coat, outer seed coat, inner seed coat. The outer seed coat or outer integument develops into testa and inner integument develops into tegmen. And we can observe the root tip. So here is the cotyledon, a single cotyledon you can see, the shoot apical meristem in the sense which contain plumule, and the hypocotyl axis along with the root axis. Here we can observe the root tip also. And this is the monocot seed. Here you can observe in this monocot seed the embryo. This is the region of embryo and this is the region of endosperm. So during the development of embryo, it will completely utilize this endosperm. And here you can observe the pericarp. Pericarp is nothing but the integuments. And this embryo, we can see radicle, plumule. Plumule is enclosed by coleoptile and radicle is enclosed by coleorhiza, and the single cotyledon is called as scutellum. So all these we have studied in the previous class only. So here these two types are very important. These are classified only depending upon the presence or absence of endosperm. And another interesting thing we can study here, it is nucellus. So where do you find the presence of nucellus? Usually this nucellus, it is present around the embryo sac. When we study the structure of ovule, so in this ovule, in the center, we can find the female gametophyte called as embryo sac. Around the embryo sac, there is a nutritive tissue, a parenchymatous mass of cells called as nucellus. So this nucellus, even during the development of embryo, they not only release the endosperm, even developing embryo. But in certain seeds, this nucellus may remains as a thin layer around the endosperm. So where is the endosperm? You just observe here. Here it is the zygote. Around the zygote we can find endosperm. Around the endosperm there will be a nucellus. And this nucellus may be completely utilized in certain seeds. In some seeds, the nucellus will remain as a thin layer that can be called as a perisperm. Perisperm, very very important. Pericarp is nothing but seed coat. Here perisperm. What is this perisperm? It is the remnants of nucellus or persistent nucellus. If the nucellus is retained, that can be called as a perisperm. I repeat, so this nucellus, it is also nutritive tissue. It can be also utilized by the developing embryo. But in certain seeds, the nucellus remains as a thin layer around the endosperm. So that remnants of nucellus is called as perisperm. It can be called as remnants of nucellus or persistent nucellus. Then after fertilization, so the ovule now it has a seed coat, cotyledon and embryonal axis. Now as the seed matures, so this is the seed, as the seed matures, the water content will be reducing. You may be seen in case of, if you observe any raw seeds, they contain water content. They have water content. As the seed matures, the water content will be decreasing. And or else we can say they loses their water content and they become dry. So whatever the seeds you are storing at home, they are the dry seeds. If they are dry, the metabolic activity of the embryo decreases or slows down. When this seed it becomes dry, the metabolic activity of this embryo becomes slow down, and this embryo may enters into a resting stage called as dormancy. You may be studied in your first PUC about the dormancy, when the embryo, the metabolic activity of the embryo decreases and enters into a resting period called as dormancy, and this phenomena we can call it as dormancy of seeds. When the embryo is in a dormancy state, even the seed is also in a dormancy stage, so that we can call it as a dormancy of seeds. Then what is the time period of this dormancy? How long the dormancy period can be retained? So here the period of this dormancy, it may be few days, few weeks, few months or years together. If the favorable conditions are available, only if the favorable conditions are available, at that time this seed will undergo germination and they produces a new plant. So which are the favorable conditions? Favorable conditions in the sense adequate amount of moisture or water, oxygen, suitable temperature. If all these favorable conditions are available to this seed, then only the seeds will germinate and produces a new plant. Let us take an example. You are storing the certain seeds at home. So whatever the seeds you are storing at home, they are the dry seeds and they are in the period of dormancy. So you can store certain seeds for years together. After several years, if you put those seeds in contact with the water, or when you expose it to oxygen or suitable temperature, at that time the seeds will start to germinate and they may produce a new plant. So that is about the seed. And certain important thing we should know about the seed is there is a one oldest seed. The oldest seed is called as lupin seed. Lupin seed. Its scientific name is actually Lupinus arcticus. So Lupinus arcticus. The lupin seed actually which is from Arctic tundra. So this seed, the lupin seed, which has been germinated and flowered after an expected period of 10,000 years of dormancy. So the seed has been undergone 10,000 years of dormancy. So after the 10,000 years of dormancy, the seed started to germinate. So this is the oldest seed. And a recent record of a 2,000-year-old discovered viable seed is, that is a date palm. You may be knowing about the date palm. It is, so this date palm, it is a Phoenix dactylifera. So it is, so this date palm, the viable seed of this date palm has been recorded, the 2000-year-old seed, and this has been discovered in the archaeological excavation during the King Herod Palace near the Dead Sea, or we can say Salt Lake. So in that place they have been discovered a 2000-year-old date palm. So that is the recent discovery or recent study. So but the oldest seed is the lupin seed, which has been germinated after 10,000 years of dormancy. So that is about the seed, and that completes the seed.